Hey guys, I'm RozaldVane, and welcome back to another episode of Eliza. So where we last left off, was we met a guy who goes to University of Washington, and he was kind of our last client of Chapter 3, I think. And then we are here at Ray's apartment or house, and she's gonna teach us how to bake cookies with her, or technically bake cookies with her in general. And then around before we started baking the cookies, we talked to Rainer on phone text, and he explained his goals with Eliza, and I think it's a bad idea, but whatever, I guess. So yeah, all right, let's continue into the story. Ray returns from the kitchen, her hands caked with flour.
Sorry for abandoning our conversation like that. I just got something I really thought I should answer. It was kind of about what we were discussing earlier. There's someone at Skanda who really wants me to come back to my old job.
Who? It wasn't Rainer, was it?
God damn it.
Well,
no big deal. Just the CEO of Skanda texting you on your personal phone. Evelyn, you try to tell me you're not a big deal, and then Rainer Sai texts you personally at like 9 in the evening.
I don't think it's a big deal, though.
only because he wants something from me.
True.
Still, though, that's amazing. What did he say? I mean, you don't have to tell me if you can't. I know how Skanda is about secrets, so I would understand.
I think it's very private.
He was saying, among other things, he said you could use general artificial intelligence to write poetry.
Is that the kind of stuff he likes to talk about?
Not really, I don't think.
I don't know. I haven't had many extended conversations with him.
Sadly so.
Seemed kind of ridiculous to me.
I don't know if it's totally ridiculous. Poetry, well, most poetry that isn't free verse has certain patterns, right?
True.
It has form and meter and other elements depending on the type. A lot of people think poetry can be whatever, but it doesn't quite work that way.
True.
So it's not really that far-fetched to think you could use some kind of software to approach it, or understand it, or maybe even create it.
Excuse me for a second there.
It doesn't strike me as antithetical to the spirit of poetry.
I didn't know you had such developed thoughts about this.
Well, I feel like Ray is very emotional. Like she knows things emotionally. Like she's an empathetic person, so she understands what poems should be like. A lot of people who are creative or in a creative field or empathetic, highly empathetic, like they think about the EQ and stuff like that, maybe, I guess, tend to do better things or understand better things with the creative stuff, including poetry. I think Rainer doesn't understand that, and he thinks of it more in a logical sense, and that's how it looks like for sure, but who knows?
Did you study poetry?
Not specifically. I used to dabble in a few different kinds of arts and ended up learning a few things here and there.
Fair. Kind of knew that was going to be the case.
I've always had a wide range of interests. Of course, that meant I never concentrated on one specific area in school.
For me, on the other hand, I try to concentrate on one specific thing. But I always dabble in like the creative side. So like in my community college, I was doing science as the major. But I always try to find a class like theater, music, writing, and I always use those classes as a pivotal role for me as to helping me kind of develop a creative, like a creative sense, I guess, like try to figure out like ways to do things creatively and think about the arts rather than just primarily just the one straightforward thing that's just science overall. Like I don't like that. I like to explore, I guess, and try to figure things out as I go. Because there's no way of expression if it's just the one logical thing sometimes. Anyways,
Which didn't do a lot of good for my career prospects, obviously.
it's not a bad thing though.
If I were smarter, I probably would have studied something more technical.
I do think that in life somebody should be studying both technical and arts at the same time. Keep a good well balance so that you yourself could be like finding your own self through those kind of things and through the arts and creative like stuff, but also as a way to kind of develop new hobbies for yourself while doing technical work and kind of learning the stuff that will help either advance your creative side or just kind of give yourself a job that would eventually be sustainable, where you can just switch if, you know, one company is failing or one industry is failing of some sort. I want to tell Ray that the kind of choice has very little to do with being smart, but I have the feeling she wouldn't believe me.
Have you ever been to a college recruiting fair for engineering and computer science grads? You must have, right?
I kinda had, but I wouldn't say it would. I don't think it would be relatable here, I guess.
I helped run the Skanda booth for one once, and it blew my mind. They took over the atrium of the building it was in. There were demo stations, free food, Skanda t-shirts and swag.
Makes sense.
If a candidate seemed interested, they'd talk about flying them out to whatever Skanda office they wanted to visit, just to see it. And all the other tech companies and a bunch of startups I'd never heard of had booths just like it, too. I couldn't even imagine being that wanted as a potential employee. Every job I've ever applied for, I've been one among hundreds or thousands.
Somewhat same, I would say.
So yeah, my parents were probably right. I should have done computer science.
Don't put yourself down like that. You tell me not to put myself down, Ray. You put yourself down right now.
At least now you know Raynor likes poetry. Maybe you could have a conversation with him about it sometime.
Excuse me.
Then he'd learn who you are.
No?
I doubt we'd have much to talk about.
Oof.
There's a pretty big difference between someone like him studying poetry and someone like me having opinions about it. Sometimes it's better not to cross that line, you know?
Fair.
He's part of a different world.
That's also fair. Makes sense. Ray pauses to regard me for a moment.
Say, Evelyn, are you in a relationship? I'm just curious.
Me? No. I wasn't doing so well for the past few years. And before that, I just never had the time. It was just research and science and work, and then I woke up one day and I was in my 30s.
Oh, she's 30? I didn't know Evelyn was 30.
Even if I wanted to date, I wouldn't know the first thing about how it's supposed to work.
Awkwardly so. I'm in that same camp. Thanks, Evelyn. You're so relatable now. She's super relatable now to me. God damn it.
I wouldn't even know how to tell if someone were interested in me.
Same. God damn. She's really relatable now.
Yeah, that's perfectly understandable. I'm kind of over relationships myself, like on a conceptual level. Not even in a sad way, like really okay.
So she said if Ray is kind of satisfied with just being alone for now still. I mean, I kind of feel that similarly, I guess. Like, I'm satisfied within my own self. I don't need to change who I am. I just need to just continue learning, growing, be a better human being, obviously. But obviously just trying to figure out ways to not be, you know, a bad influence to another person, I guess, in a sense. But I'm really not a bad influence. Just saying. Just saying.
If someone and I end up getting along, that's great, but I'm honestly okay by myself.
Yeah, okay. Really, are you sure?
Yeah, that seems nice, actually.
Yeah, I only tried to have normal relationships for so long because I thought it was mandatory, something expected of me.
I don't think that's the case. I think if you want to get into a relationship, it's got to be mutually ready for both sides of the party. Like, if you are willing to be in a relationship, you should be already at that space saying, like, I want to be in a relationship. And then if the other person's not interested, or the person is still kind of iffy on going into a relationship in general, to be fair, that person shouldn't be looking for a relationship at that point. Then they should just be continuing on their own for a little bit, kind of reevaluating and thinking about themselves first before actually committing to that relationship, if they ever choose to. And I think that's the case with a lot of people. Is just they're still on the fence on who they want to be or what they want to go into with a relationship, and then they haven't, you know, decide, or they're not decisive enough to figure that out until either it's too late or until they just realize that they just don't want it overall. So I don't know.
But now I see where people my age end up, how they live, and I feel lucky. I feel like I escaped. I mean, I think it's fine for others if they want that, don't get me wrong. It's just not for me. I could maybe share my life with someone, but it would have to be platonic.
No.
I'm not into, the physical aspect of it. Never have been.
Fair. I know some people don't need the physical side of the relationship. They just want somebody who's there to just mentally be supportive or psychologically support them whenever they need it, I guess.
That's made it tough. I've never found someone who was okay with just, like, hanging out and that's our relationship.
Like a friend, a real friend.
People will say they're okay with it, and then it turns out they aren't. It's frustrating.
I mean, that's what human beings are, you know? There are some relationships like that, though. Whatever relationship works for you. No, I would say this.
Whatever relationship works for you.
I was brought up with some really strong ideas about, finding a man and starting a family. So it took me a while to understand I could be different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to escape feeling like it's wrong somehow.
It's not wrong, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of people who have... There's probably a percentage of people in this world who has that same thought and are in that same scenario.
I hope we can add features like that to Eliza at some point.
A relationship advice app?
Some knowledge and understanding around sexuality and identity and relationships.
I think it is in the system already, but I just don't think that we've encountered it yet. Relationships is definitely one of the things we're going through right now. I'm not sure about the other two, though. But definitely the relationship thing is happening with the one dude we just talked to, the university student from the last episode.
So people who are different in some way have someone to talk to, someone to help them work through how they feel and maybe point them to some resources.
That sounds like a good idea. I'm not sure how well it could really understand, though.
Even so, just providing a space for people to be listened to can be really valuable,
True.
I've seen it with my own eyes. People who get the courage to talk about themselves in a way they never could with another human being. And Eliza is what makes that possible. I know you want to avoid giving credit where it might not be due, but not giving credit to something that deserves it is just as bad.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry. I'm sorry I keep coming down on it.
Evelyn, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I think maybe the reason you're so down on Eliza is because you're down on yourself.
Okay, I guess.
I don't know what happened that made you leave what you had behind, but it must have been hard.
Yeah, it was hard. It's like I lost that time.
Are you okay?
People keep asking me that. I really don't know. I'm sorry,
No, don't apologize. Actually, can I suggest something?
It sounds like Ray's been Eliza's installed in Ray's brain. Can I suggest something?
What's that?
Have you ever gotten counseling yourself?
Oh boy.
What, with Eliza? You think I should?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
You've been the proxy, but maybe you could try being the client sometime. It would be educational, at least.
Maybe.
Isn't that what you were doing? Testing your product in the real world?
Sorta.
Maybe.
Just something to consider.
Ray takes a breath and smiles.
Speaking of therapeutic activities, it's time to do some baking.
Hell yeah.
I've got the dough all set out downstairs. We're going to do 3 batches tonight, 3 different kinds.
3 kinds? You're really outdoing yourself, Ray.
Nah, this is nothing. Oh, I have a favor to ask, by the way.
What?
Next time you talk to Rainer, ask him what his favorite type of cookie is.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'ma smack that dough. Get that cookie. Chapter 4. Alright, 4th day at work. Day number... Oh my god, that's a beautiful scenery. Oh my god. Can I hide the UI and just take a screenshot pic? I love this. Is there even a way to hide the thing? Hide the UI? Oh, damn it. I just want to see the... Oh no, that's not it. I'm trying to figure out a way to, like, hide... Oh, damn it. I just can't. This is, like, such a beautiful background. Or, yeah, beautiful scenery. Oh, I forgot to read it. What a beautiful view is probably what she said first, I guess. When did it get so warm? I thought it was still winter. There's a breeze from over the water, making the leaves rustle gently. Everything smells nice. Why haven't I taken advantage of this beautiful day? What's funny is that this scenery reminds me of the lakeside view in like when driving from like Redmond to like Seattle. Like if you go from like Bellevue or Redmond or somewhere outside of the Seattle area and then going into Seattle area, like this is exactly somewhat those views that you would find out here. And like if you're able to like find like a part of the island. I'm guessing this is Merced Island, maybe I might be wrong. But like I know that there are like islands, there's a rich person island kind of like out in the lakes and stuff that people can't really, like people can probably go in to visit, but they can't go there to live. It's too expensive to afford. But like there are some like places that have apartment spaces like near the lakeside, which is fantastic. But anyways, I should be out here walking along the waterfront. There's calm and peace and contentedness. Now I see how special this is. It wasn't always this way, but it's hard to tell. I know, I was having problems at one point, but that was not so long ago. That was so long ago. When was that? I don't remember. This moment in time seems to stretch to infinity. It has always existed. It will always exist. Unchanging, perfect. Alright. I really want to hide the UI so I can... Let me pause this. See. Yeah, there's no, like, hide UI. I just really want to... Shift? No. I wouldn't say tab either. Shoot. There's no way to hide the UI, I bet. Oh well. Unless there's like a control, but there's no gameplay controls or anything here, so it's kind of sad. The surface of that lake is such a brilliant blue. A blue I could lose myself in. Forever blue. Alrighty.
Well, what do you think?
Wait. How did we end up in Soren's apartment? What's going on? This is what? What? This is chapter 4?
It was nice. It was like I could close my eyes and feel myself in another place.
Oh, she's testing out the his product, isn't it?
But I didn't completely lose awareness of the real world. It was more like a mental state that I was experiencing.
Remarkable technology, isn't it? I've had others who tried it tell me it's akin to a state of higher consciousness. Aware but totally serene, totally peaceful.
Soren retrieves a bottle of whiskey from a liquor cabinet and serves himself.
Here's a thought experiment for you. Say there was a certain medical procedure that could remove your suffering. No side effects, no cost, just an operation that would make you permanently happy.
I would not take it.
Would you get it? You have these philosopher types arguing you shouldn't do that because sadness and suffering are part of what it means to be human.
But it's pretty true, though. I love the background scenery, though. Even, like, this reminds me of real life, like, Seattle, Washington State, kind of. Like, there's a lot of concrete apartments, but very modern-looking ones, and then there's rain and fog that causes the background to look kind of, like, hazy. So it's, like, almost cyberpunk-ish, but it's not.
Or that the happiness you'd experience isn't real, so it doesn't count somehow.
Maybe.
What a load of bullshit. If there was something effective at taking my pain away, and otherwise harmless, I would take it immediately.
I wouldn't, but sure.
I refuse to believe that being alive means having to suffer.
But I mean, I don't really know if that's true. Like, if suffering is the only way to learn, wouldn't that mean that... Because I know that there was a TED Talks video where... Oh. Spam call. Excuse me. I know there's a TED Talk talking about how the most successful people had the worst experiences of their life before going into that success. Like they outlived they've grown the most because they've been through one of the biggest hardships in their life and stuff like that. So they will grow better to be better people as they continue doing that. And I mean, I feel like that's agreeable in some capacity, but at the same time, who knows really? Like I really don't know if that's truthfully, or personally, I don't think that I would know for sure if that's the case. His voice is getting so ragged. How many drinks did he have before I came here? Also, we just kind of went to Ray's place, and then we went to Soren's place to test his product, I guess.
Oh, forgive me, I forgot to ask. Would you like some scotch as well?
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Soren holds up the bottle, examining it.
The Glencadam. Beautiful, light, luminous taste. Not peaty at all. Lovely stuff. Ah, if only psychotherapy worked as well as a single glass of well-made whiskey, huh? If alcohol wasn't poison, I wouldn't have to invent anything now, would I?
Probably.
I do think we did some good work at Skanda, but I always knew there were going to be limits to the Eliza approach. I was a counseling psychologist for a long time, you know. I understand the shortcomings better than anyone.
God damn it, this guy's just like scratching his own ego. God damn.
So much of it can feel like a waste of time, talking through everything, dredging up the past over and over again, trying and failing to change our habits and routines. It's all going to look completely ineffectual compared to what comes next. With direct stimulation and induced dreaming, we can take control of our own brains in a way that's never been possible before. There's no reason we couldn't just eliminate this epidemic of despair for everyone in the world. Imagine it. Anger, depression, emptiness, anxiety, jealousy, every kind of unhappiness you can think of, obsolete. And to think Raynor wanted nothing to do with this.
I think he said it was a bad idea, I think.
He thought it was a bad idea.
Alright, give me a second, let me do something first. Blow my nose a little bit. Sorry about that. I had to clear my nose for a second there. Alright.
Raynor's one of the ones who thinks negative emotions are important.
Maybe.
He told me he thinks pain should be regulated, not eliminated.
In a way, yeah. Kinda. But that in itself is also not efficient either.
After all, why would anyone write a poem or make art if they only felt happiness?
Yeah, because there's no influence in how to make that thing better if you don't think of the negatives and always thinking about the positives.
He also said he was afraid of the way it would look in the media. A company as large as Skanda coming out with a product that changes the brain to make you happy. All the sorry excuses we have for public intellectuals today would throw a fit about how dystopian it looked to them. It's better if a small startup takes the fall, if public opinion turns against this technology. That's the kind of calculus he was doing.
Calculus.
Those are the objections he claimed to have, at least. There's another one I suspect he had too, though. If people are self-sufficient, they don't need an ongoing support system. A system provided by an all-knowing paternalistic presence like Skanda.
Wait, you think Raynor wants people to stay miserable so they stay dependent on mental health services from his company?
Oof.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Wow. He and Raynor think so differently. Raynor thinks about it in terms of like the one product fits all issue, or Soren thinks of the one product fits all issue, while Raynor thinks about the product of making people forcefully keep, coming back for the same help or the same service each time. That's hilarious that they both think that way.
It's quite the accusation, I know. Not something I'd come out and say in public, not yet, anyway. But you see, the people who come to Eliza regularly, it's part of their lives now.
Sadly so.
The more they integrate with Skanda's mental wellness tools, the more they'd be adrift without them. That's the real dystopia, don't you think? Rendered helpless without the guidance of computer algorithms. Total dependency on the system. Excuse me for 1 second.
He has a call, maybe? Soren hurries out of the room for some reason, leaving me with questions echoing in my head. Would I want my suffering removed completely? Is it even better to leave it alone? Is it better to leave it alone? Erlen, hey. Hey, do you think I can ask about Damien? Sure. What do you want to know about him? Like, what kind of person was he? You're asking me to describe him. You're asking me to describe him? If you're okay with that, I don't want to make you, if it's uncomfortable, but it could help me to know what he was like. He was a brilliant software architect and engineer. One of the most sincere people I've ever met. He believed people were fundamentally good and wanted to help them. Our digital therapy project wasn't a mandate from management. We started it ourselves. I see. Damien went through some difficult times himself. He wasn't able to get the care he needed. That's why he wanted to change things. I wish he'd gotten the chance. I see. Thank you. This is going to sound weird, but sometimes when I'm working late and I doze in the office, I have dreams about him. I never met him in real life, but it's like I sense his presence there, like he encoded himself into the system in some way. I know, it's just my mind playing tricks on me. I don't believe in ghosts. Okay. So it seems like Damien is dead? Like he committed suicide? Because it sounded like he... The reason why I don't want to come to that conclusion, because there's no certainty of that truth yet. But it's because the way it sounded in that conversation that it kind of seems like he's gone already. But at the same time, yeah, something must have happened to Damien, and I'm not aware of it, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of weird to me in general, like, how exactly, like, it's going on right now, I guess, but it's just kind of weird to me at the moment. Alright, like, examine everything here, I guess. We kind of are running low on time, I guess. Soren likes the style of decor. I forgot what it was called. It's modern, from around the middle of the century. There's a term for that, isn't there? Seems so strange for him. Maybe he cuts back. Reminds me of the art in the counseling room. Kind of true. Knowing Soren, this is probably by some famous artist, and it costs him a fortune. Also fair. Alright, I'm looking at the time, and I think I might have to end it here for sure. But I'm kind of confused because we were at Ray's, and I thought we went back home to sleep and then move on to the next day as in to work. But apparently we're at Soren's apartment, following up after Ray's cookie baking nighttime thing. But I'm guessing this is like early morning, like 6 or 5 a.m. in the morning, before we go off to work. And we're just going to his apartment space to kind of like test out his little machinery thing, I guess. It's probably what's happened here. But we'll see what happens as we continue into chapter 4 here. I'm just surprised that chapter 4 existed like right after like the way it did, I guess. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys in the next episode of Nobody Minds. Hope you guys have a great, amazing day. Good night to whenever watching this. So far, I think we're about halfway through the game so far. I think there's like 7 chapters. This game technically takes about 5 hours, if I recall. 5 hours and 30 minutes without the achievement hunting thing. But so far I've been talking a lot, so it extends this game's like playthrough a little bit further, which is my fault entirely, sort of, kind of. But at the same time, there's not a lot of good places to stop the recording because it's like really weird to do those kind of things, I guess, or try to place myself in the place I need to place to stop the recording, but I try. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Yeah, next episode we'll see what happens here with Soren, and then hopefully we'll go back to work at Eliza, and whatever. Otherwise, Roz out.